All right, welcome to another episode of Let's Go Brandon Green. Today on the show we have Kim Lengling. She's an author and she's reintroduced herself since COVID had broken the world. And remember that? The world all changed in, March 2020. And she was one of the ones that lost her job and had to reinvent herself. She's reinvented herself. She's come back stronger and she's now an author and she has her own TV show that she hosts and she also has a podcast. So, Kim, tell us about you, where you're from, and what's going on with you right now.
Well, I am from the United States. I am in Pennsylvania, and thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. This is going to be fun. Looking forward to it. And yeah, just to piggyback off what you just said, when the whole world shut down, it seemed like the doors of the world closed, and there was fear floating in the air. You could almost feel it and taste it. I was one of those ones who lost my job at that time. That had not happened to me before. So I was thrown for a loop a bit and was a little angry. So I said, all right, Kim, one day be angry. And I was. I had a good mad going on for 24 hours. And then, after that, I said, all right, that door just slammed, as it has for many, many millions of people right now. What's your skill sets? What are you good at? What are you passionate about? And what do you love to do? So that's what I did. I just made a list and said, all right, so that door closed. There's a couple other doors I can open, and I'm going to step through them boldly. So literally that day that I was making my mental list of what I could do, I thought, let's start a podcast. I had no idea what I was doing. I had only listened to maybe one or two podcasts. I had no clue, literally none. Started one that day, researched for a few hours, and then literally started one and recorded one myself, just talking to the world, not knowing what I was doing. And I decided to call my podcast Let Fear Bounce. And at that time, and still now even, there was too much fear, and I'm not one that lives in fear, and I certainly don't let it hover over me. It's just, I'm not that type of person. So my thought was, I'm letting this fear of losing my job and what am I going to do? And, all those little voices that come at you that are nothing but negative. I was like, not letting them bounce, letting all those little poison darts bounce. And so that's why I decided to call my podcast Let Fear Bounce. And
it's a good phrase, actually.
Excuse me?
Yeah. It is a good phrase, actually. I'll use it a bit more now. But
good.
Yeah, it's no. It just seems ever since then it was like, the media just trying to make something out of nothing. It's like, fuck off. The government then down your throat, get the vax and all this. It's like, clearly that doesn't work. But line up and take your fourth. Oh man, so it's crazy, but yeah, exactly. So yeah, the world's all, but there was about a 10-day period I remember there when it all hell broke loose and everyone was just sitting around, not going to the shops, not spending money. 10 days, it felt like the world had stopped, and then eventually, we started getting calls again for our work and that. So, what job were you doing?
I was a sales and marketing director for a manufacturing company, and that's my background, 25 years of sales and marketing. So, I thought, well, I've got that skill set and I've been doing it for quite some time now. So I can, I've marketed and sold for others for 25 years. Why can't I do it for myself? So
do it for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Well, that's what I am too. Yeah. Sales marketing for 10, 12 years, 15 years or whatever it is now, ever since I left school. But, and then a lot of people did start podcasts. Podcasts become a big trend because everyone's locked down. Like, everyone's now looking back on what happened and we're like, did we really just let the government walk all over us for like 2 years? And like, everyone's just in the last couple of weeks, and I was like, what the hell did we let happen for what? You're going to get it, you die. Now we've lost 2 years of our prime, It's crazy stuff, but yeah. And there's still the other half that want to go on with it, which is just, right here. Yeah, enough's enough and we're not doing it again. So you've worked that out. And what are you doing with your podcast there? How's that going? How many episodes are you up to? And you've got a bit of a following on the page, on the Facebook page.
Yeah, it's actually,
And
it was a slow going because I had no idea what I was doing. But I thought, you know what? Even if I'm going at a turtle pace, I don't care. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying myself, and I will make this work. And of course, I was doing other things on the side because I did need an income. So as an author and a writer, and I help edit some stuff, help some folks edit their books and things like that. So I was doing that on the side, focusing on my podcast. The podcast now, and I've read many, many articles that most podcasts, they fail within the first year, or they just stop.
They fail because they stop. Yeah.
Yeah, the host just quit. They just don't want to do it. So I'm in year 2 now. I'm at episode, I think, around 125.
Yeah, well.
So it's going strong, and I'm getting some awesome guests, and it seems like I'm getting a lot of authors, which I love, by the way. But a lot of authors are coming on my show. I've had, like USA Today best-selling authors, award-winning authors, folks that have Netflix TV series, so it's just been so fun meeting people that I never would have had the opportunity.
People. And the other thing is you learn a lot as well, That's the number one. Yeah, it's like listening to a podcast, but you're the host, you're in the driver's seat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that even if there only are a few listeners at the moment, they trickle in. What I've also noticed, I'm now 33 or so episodes in, and I've been trying to be pretty consistent, doing a few a month. Started this year. The more you do and the more consistent you are, the more Google will show your podcast to different people, because my impressions are going up quite a lot just in the last month now. So just keep going with it. And if you're having fun, you're learning, that's all you need to do. And you can then use those skills to other things that you do, and which are writing, and now you've got more to write about. So what do you write about in your books?
A lot of I've been in I think 8 anthologies, so I'm a co-author in 8 different books. I have a soul effort, and I'm a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, so I have a huge heart and passion for helping veterans, and so that's what I do a lot of my spare time. My volunteer time is helping veterans in need, and so my book is literally interviews with dozens of combat veterans from the Korean War era, the Vietnam War era, and closer to the first Gulf War in the 90s. So that's what that book is all about. And I'm going now in a different direction with what I'm currently writing. It's more of fiction, and it's a little bit of fantasy thrown in there, and a lot of fun little characters. So I don't want to give away too much because I'm really working hard at it to get it out there. My goal is to have that book out, and it's a total different direction than I've ever done. You've
only really ever written about nonfiction, like stories about the war and things like that, interviewing people. And now you're saying, no, I want to go for the fiction. I want to write some bullshit. That's how I've never really been into fiction at all, because you sound a lot like me. You love you just love facts and cool, real stories.
I like the personal
But we can
story.
also, but exactly. But some people are just have it, and that doesn't mean that I couldn't be creative and use my creative genius that is within inside me and within inside you deep down there too. And you can make something yourself, fiction, and that's what you're doing. So how does a typical non-fiction author go about writing a fiction book?
I have had literally for years, for probably about 14 years, I've had a story in my head.
Yeah.
With all these little characters that live in my realm. And I am the queen of the realm. And I thought, why am I not writing these down? I have them all pictured in my head. I have full conversations. So I started writing these little conversations down, literally like 300-400 words at a time, little conversations with the critters that live in my realm. I live in the country, so I have deer, possum, raccoon, squirrels, chipmunk. I have, you name it, I've got it living in my realm. So they have all become the characters, and it's been really fun to write. So when I have another conversation that just comes to me, I get in front of my computer and write that out. And so it's after all these years, I've pulled what I've written, which is thousands and thousands of words together, and now I'm adding to it and just turning it into a book. And it's been a really fun journey because I have a very vivid imagination, and these little characters in my head, they've kind of become, like a lot of fiction writers say, their characters are part of their world now, and so are
Yeah.
mine. So it's kind of fun. It's I'm having a blast with it. So it's a different
Yeah,
direction.
I wouldn't have written a fiction story since I was in probably primary school or high school early on, but I do remember I was actually pretty good at it. And and once you get an idea about a character, then you're like, oh, that character can actually do this, or he can go
Right.
this way, or this. Like, I remember I was very, very good at it, and then I somehow lost my. Yeah, I can't do it anymore. But I remember. But now you've just made me think. And then when you
I
do
was
it, you
gonna
had all
say,
these
why don't
ideas.
yeah, get back at it. Why not?
So I'm,
You
nah,
never
I don't
know.
know.
You never know what's going to come out of there.
You never know. Maybe one day. But I think I will, because as my 2-year-old grows up, he'll be a few years older, and then I can get into it for him.
Write a book. Write a book for your kiddo.
I've already done that, yeah, and I've put it on Amazon and things like that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's, but yeah, now I reckon I could go a step further and make it like a longer one that you've done. Like what age group's your one for? Adults,
Probably young adults.
young
And
adults, yeah.
young adults and up, because I've shared a lot of the mini stories over the years on social platforms, and people absolutely love them. And that's adults, any age, up through 75. They just enjoy it. Takes them
I don't
away
know
for
if
a
I
minute or
could
two.
be a connoisseur of someone's fiction, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's fun to write it and come up with crazy, stupid stuff. But yeah, there are connoisseurs of that everywhere, and yeah, you'd know a bit yourself. But all right. And with your TV show, tell us a bit about that.
Well, it started with the podcast and all these amazing folks I was meeting, and plus I'm a writer, and I love writing, and I love meeting other authors. I was a guest on a podcast, and that host said, "Hey, I've just had an opportunity put in front of me to host my own television show. Would you like to learn more about that?" I said, "Oh, sure. Why not?" So
Nothing else is going on.
that's right. Logical next step. So she sent me the information. I thought about it for a few days and said, you know what? This is another door. This is another door that I'm going to step through. And so it's about a year ago that I did that. And now, just within the last, I think, 2 to 3 months, the show is now up on online streaming platforms like Google Play, Roku, Amazon Prime. There's going to be 11 different platforms that the shows are available on. And the network is called Believe in Your Dreams TV Network. So I'm just one of 72 shows that are within this network. And my show is called The Right Stuff, WRITE, The Right Stuff. And I have authors on from all over the world sharing their journey of why they write, what they write, and how do they come up with their stories. And
it's much presented like I'm presenting you here. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So that's interesting. So these people have a subscription like Netflix or whatever, but it's a different type. Like, what did you call it? Amazon.
Yeah, it's on many different platforms. The show is available. The name of the network is Believe in Your Dreams TV Network.
Yeah.
And you can access any of the shows through there, because there's an app for it. It's called Believe Warriors. That's the app for that.
And these are all on smart TVs in America and
any smart device. And it should be worldwide, I believe. So your phone, your tablet, your computer, your television, Available on yeah.
So basically, just a random family is just at home browsing on what to watch, and they can stumble across your show quite easily. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
How do you go about putting your content onto a show like that? Like, how do they go about accepting it? Surely there's a quality level there, and
yes,
otherwise everyone would
is.
just be stumbling to try to get on there.
Yeah, it's definitely not YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you go about getting that on?
Each platform has its own qualifications. So when we record when I record my show, I actually do it via Zoom, but we have to have a lot of different things in place. So the quality, the lighting, the sound, the whole quality of it is good. Backgrounds, everything like that. And then I send it to my the network, the television network that I'm a part of, and then their engineers take over and they do their magic. Because once I have mine recorded and sent in, they
spruce it up.
Yeah, they take care of it. They add commercials and all of that. So we have intros and outros and commercial breaks, and just like it's a regular television show, only it's all done online. So I send my recordings in, and then they upload them to all the different platforms. And some platforms, if the lighting is not quite good enough, they'll bounce it back.
I'll reject
and
it.
say we can't accept this one. So there's quite a lot that you have to do technically to make it look good. But and I'm not a technical person. We know that.
We know that.
Well,
we had a little bit of drama for about half an hour before this, but it was we've all got it all sorted now. But so it's like, so you met someone that introduced you to this way of getting the TV show started?
Yeah, I was a guest on a podcast, and the host of that podcast, afterwards, we were chit-chatting, and she said, "Is this something you'd be interested in?" And I was like, "Well, sure, why not?" I didn't know what I was doing. It's kind of just like with the podcast. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just took a chance on myself.
And next minute, it becomes its own beast. Yeah, and it's actually, and then you're just going on autopilot. So imagine if you were to say, 5 years ago, I told you you're going to have your own TV show, like, you'd be like, what are you on about?
I would have laughed. Yeah. I would have laughed pretty hard,
all your friends would be like, wow.
Well, and it's funny because people, I'm all about learning. And if we're going to have to live in this online world and this is the normal now, I'm all in on learning it. And a lot of folks, it intimidates them. And so they don't understand it.
Well, no one understands anything. That's the whole thing. People like you and I, we're just not scared of failing, you know what I mean? I guess that's what it is. People are scared. Everyone fails.
If you're going to fail forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's 100% right. And with this, with your job being let go, and then you needed to make some money, like, how did you put the call out to people saying, hey, I can write stuff for you, or what happened there?
Well, I had a lot of contacts simply because of what I did for my job for 25 years in sales and marketing. So I reached out and just said, hey, I'm available for writing, editing, you need articles for your magazine, what have you. I just started tossing that out to folks that I know. My podcast, it's starting to make a little tiny bit, but I knew that the podcast and the television show, that wasn't something, because it was all brand new. It was nothing that I could count on. So my writing and editing skills and things like that came into play. And so that's what sustained me through that time of growing my other platforms. I had a website built. I just kind of redid and rebranded everything for myself over the past 2 years. And with the television show, once it gets rolling, it's on so many different platforms, that will bring in a stream of income, which could be very substantial in the long run. But I'm not dollar sign driven. And I think that has been very good for me, because it's not I'm not letting it be a stressor. I know what I can do to make money, so that's what I'm doing. And if these other two things, my podcast and my television show, come into play as they're
So be
supposed
it.
to at the right time, I'll be like, woohoo! You know?
That's it. That your genuine soul. That's what it is. So where do you get the guests the same way on the TV show as you do Let Fear Bounce, or does someone choose the authors there? Or
No, I choose the authors because I want to make sure it's a right fit. I have a very casual show, both my podcast and my television show. I want people to feel welcomed. And each guest, without fail, has said, Kim, you have made us feel so comfortable. And that's what I want. So at first I reached out to people that I knew that had written a book or were in the process. And then I was introduced from another podcast host to a publicist. And so for the last year, I've been working with this publicist, and he sends me guests for my podcast and my television show. And so
those guests would be pretty decent.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. It's Creative Edge Publicity. They are located in Canada, and I was introduced to him by another podcast host. So the podcasting community, I mean, it's a small world.
Yeah.
When, well, look, I'm talking to you, and you're in Australia.
Actually, I'm in Cyprus, but I'm of Australia. But yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, there's people everywhere. So just go through with those the guests that you have had on the Let Fear Bounce podcast. Any notable shows?
Most of my guests are authors. Like I said, I've had several USA Today best-selling authors, which is just exciting stuff. I'm like,
especially for an author yourself.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to be like you when I grow up.
Picking their brain nonstop.
Yeah, I do, and it's awesome. And recently, I have a young gentleman, just a super sweet guy. He is a comic book author. He has a comic book store, but he's also a core cast member on a hit Netflix series called Swap Shop. And
all right.
It was just awesome. It was just awesome. And it's being optioned for a third season. He's excited about it. And, he's still writing and running his shop. And, it's just, like I said earlier, the people I have been meeting have just been so amazing. And they're all very humble. No one is like putting themselves on a pedestal, acting like I'm so much better than you because I have this and I have that. Yeah. They're all very humble people and just super nice. And I'm just, oh my gosh, I'm just having a blast doing it.
No, and I'm sure your listeners are too, listening to it, because I have gone through your episode list and there were quite a few, like mine, a good range of people on there. And I do find the ones that you're like not that excited to talk to and about, they're actually the ones I walk away going, wow, that was the most interesting. Like, I don't know. Does that happen to you too?
Yes, it has. And, it's funny because I have I upload my podcast once a week on Wednesdays. And that's like the stepping stone to the television show. I'll have them on as a guest on my podcast. Yeah. And then if there's like this good synergy thing going on, we're getting along. Then I immediately say, I would love to have you on my television show. And no one has said no yet.
Yeah, I'll bet. But the television show is strictly authors, is it?
It is, yes. It is for authors. The guests are authors, yes. The show, of course, is for anybody. Author, writer, reader,
Yeah.
And it's just been so much fun. And all the different authors, children's books, young adult, sci-fi, comedy, romance, horror. It's so fun to talk to these people, like especially like horror. I'll use horror as an example. I don't read horror books. I don't want to read horror books. I've had several authors that write horror, and each one I'm like, how do you come up with such scary stuff in your head? Do you give yourself nightmares,
Yeah. And there'd be a different breed of people.
Yes, it is, and it's I'm sure Stephen King, the author Stephen King. he can scare the pants off of anybody, but he's a brilliant writer. And I'm like, where does he come up with that stuff? And it's amazing to talk to people to see how their brain works that way. One gentleman said, I've had nightmares every single night since I can remember. And so I figured I might as well write about them.
Jesus, that'd be terrible.
And he does very well with them.
Yeah, right.
And you don't know, it's just amazing. Everybody
Just
has
don't
their
fall
own journey.
asleep.
Everybody has their own journey, and
yeah, that's right. Everyone has their own journey, and they expose you to their journey, and then you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and then you can see the world bigger.
Hopefully we can learn from each other along the way and help
That's
each other
exactly
along
right.
the way as well.
Yeah, no, well, it's been definitely good to have you on, and I'll keep an eye out on your shows because I like your vibe. You've got a good lot of energy in there for you, and you're definitely not Amish like the ones down the road. No?
No, I'm not Amish.
I nearly had to send you back to the community at the start. Just might as well get 100 of them to come in and help you with your technical difficulties.
We do have a lot of Amish. Not specifically in my area of Pennsylvania. We have communities, but the other side.
So you're not near Intercourse?
No, that's on the other side of Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, I stayed in Intercourse.
I do not live in Intercourse, Pennsylvania, and I know people love saying that out loud.
Yeah, I stayed there for a few days. It was
did
weird. You? Yeah, it was interesting. But yeah. I like Pennsylvania.
Why did you stay there? Did you stay there simply because of the name of the town?
No, that was just a bonus. But we wanted to see the Amish because it was forever wanting to, that was fiction to me as a kid. Like, do these really live like this? And then 21, we go over and look at them, and geez, that's why I want to get on an Amish person on the show. Drag one in next time you see him out there.
Oh, you can't. They won't. You can't. You'll never get them on.
Yeah.
Not electricity. No electricity. Yeah. No photos. It's like you're stealing their soul if you take a picture.
Yeah, that's right. No photo. That's why I said you got to kidnap one for me. But yeah, I was always interested in that because it's mind blowing. But yeah, the world we live in. They're probably not too bad considering the crazies that have unearthed in the last 2 years anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
All right. So where can people listen to you and check you out at?
Well, they can actually find out all about me and check out my television show and my podcast right on my website. Everything is linked up on there. And my website is just my name, KimLenglingAuthor.com. So it's KIMLENGLING author.com. So visit me there. That's the easiest way. Reach out if you want to, or if you got some questions, or you think you might be a good fit for Let Fear Bounce or the Right Stuff television show. Hey, you never know.
Never know. And I'll have those links there as well on the website. You'll be able to see that and hear on the YouTube video. All right. Well, Kim, great meeting you, and I will be following you with a close eye. See where you're going because you're a nice person to speak to, actually.
Thank you very much. It's been a true pleasure.
No worries, Kim. You have a great day.
All right, you too. Take care.
Bye.